Hello and welcome to part 5 of the Colorado Timing System guided video series for the Deaconess Aquatic Center. This is all about the Gen7 software. This is one of the 3 softwares you're going to need to know. The other one is High-Tech and DisplayLink. So this is by far, I would say it's the most complicated, but it's also the most self-explanatory too. So we have a giant section already in the Deaconess Aquatic Center's manual on how to do this, but I'm going to go talk through it a bit slowly, give a brief coverage on it. Give us with a bit more visuals on what everything does. So again, this is the Gen7 software part 5. My name is Jack. I'm the Deaconess Aquatic Center Equipment Operation Team Lead, and we're based in Evansville, Indiana. So without further ado, let's get going. So in this software video, I'm going to be showing you how to start/resume a meet, same thing for the session, importing events/creating your own events, how to use the race data function, print function, run in meet function, settings, and quick options. You might be thinking, oh, diagnostics is missing. No, we have our own video for that. That is part 3 of the series. So if you want to see that, that'll be up in the eye right now. So go ahead and click on that. But besides that, let's get right into it and I'll get to talking. Hello and welcome to the pool deck. We are on our Gen 7 computer now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to open our Gen 7 laptop, or our application of Gen 7. Once this renders in, you're going to get your timer availability. You want to make sure it's the right case lights for your timer. In our case, we have one timer. We can have your timer connected directly through a wire, or you can have it plugged in through Ethernet, which is what we have at our facility. This page is all about clicking if you're doing 2 pools or 1 pool. If you do not have this option, it's because your facility is not designed for that, or Colorado Timing has not sent you the patch for it for your pool. Anyways, if you're running a 2 pool meet, we have a separate video on that completely. That will be up in the eye once it is done being filmed. So right now we're just going to click on pool 1, and we're going to click pool 1. So next, in my case, I already had a session open. I'm using a different one now. So you can now, if you're doing a new meet, you want to type in your meet name. Oh, wrong spot. Type in a meet name, and then you want to put in the date that your meet's going to start, and then the date your meet's going to end. Say as we're doing a 2-day meet. Governing body, there are a few different governing bodies on here. You have the NFHS. It's high school thing. Don't worry about that one really. Other NCAA, USA Swimming, and World Aquatics. For most of what you're doing, you're going to be using World USA Swimming. If you're doing a World Aquatics meet, you know more than I do, and you're going to be knowing what to do. And NCAA, they have their own people too. Students will then hit OK. In my case, I'm going to hit existing meet, just so I can show you a more complete process of the next step. This is your session page. This top section, new session, is all you'll have access to if you click a new session. You're just going to put like a tag, like this is Friday, or Sat afternoon, and it'll tell you what session number. You can adjust that all because that's what your high-tech computer will be using. Pool length, you'll click on that. It'll tell you how many yards you plan on doing. And then the start time doesn't have to be exact, just put something in there. You can add default events. It's really just high school events that you can add in, but I don't really recommend it. You can also add junior varsity, and I mean, it's different, but you don't really need to. So we're going to get into how you import that from high-tech too, which is much more efficient in my opinion. And then you want to select the timing hardware you will be using for the session. So your facility will be coded into the timer you can use. So our facility, we have our shallow, 25-yard, large bulkhead to shallow deck, which is also going to work in mirror. Large bulkhead to small bulkhead, which is in the middle. Our deep one that's always available to its ports that are directly into the ground, as well as a 50-meter deep deck to small bulkhead, and a deep deck to small bulkhead. These are 2 different things. This one has the option, or this one is solely at our facility for the deep deck. This one's for having 2 touchpads. This one is just the deep deck, small bulkhead to deep deck. And then of course cable harnesses which plug directly into your timer, which you would have to have access to. And then of course you want to make sure that this is already done before you open your timing computer, open up Gen 7, all of that. So So if you're doing an existing session, you say existing, and the session's already there. For your meeting. Once you've done that, you'll load into a page like this. It probably won't have any events in it. From there, you have two options to add events. You can either, which I'm going to do the easier one first, you can await your high-tech computer writer to give you them, which I'm just going to shamelessly click the button myself to give it, and we should see here in the next couple seconds. There we go. That's the meet management software. It's giving me an event. So now I have all the events I need access to. And when I click these, it will change it on the board if display link has already been done. And if you go to a diving event, it will ask you, would you like to launch diving? That's a whole other ordeal that we aren't really specialized in around here. Now your heats, these control the heat that you're doing for the board. Ask about your meet, what you're doing. And this race number is extraordinarily important. This allows the high-tech operating runner to know what meet they're pulling from. Anyways, this is how you can input a record into your meet. You would just have to hit it when you put editing and time stamps. Team scores, you can do it through this. However, it's much easier to do through high tech. And these are just, you have to double tap, input the scores, and make sure you have everything set on your board, but it's easier through high tech. This button right here is for after race. You click it, and the places on the board will organize themselves from first to second to last to whatever. This one right here, just a little button that does stuff. Not a great explanation on my part, but it's just to move everyone back a split. So like you see, I say hit start. You can also start race manual, but also start from your start. Say it's started. You notice that this timer is going to be counting up the time on the board. Your board will also be counting up. Your Gen 7 icon is going to be spinning. So you can click each lane to turn it on or off, or if you control hold D lane. Whew. Probably should look at the shortcuts in a second, and that's what we'll be covering. But you can also press this button to approve all splits given. This is to switch your options where you can see both touchpads. You aren't really going to have access to all of them. That one's to clear all the lanes, by the way. Split arm all just makes it so you give everyone a 50. They all are given split arm. And that will actually move something up if you're not on a 200 or 100, but I'm on 100. But if I hit final arm all, it'll give them all their second lap. This means that they are going to their final 50 of their race or whatever. It might be 100 if you're in long course, but you also, that's mainly for like someone misses the wall, you hit plus touch. And for me, it's not really going to show much because you can't plus touch a finish. You cannot plus touch a finish. It's just one of those things that doesn't exist. So you just have to be mindful of that. And there we go. When you do not have anyone actually touch, it'll ask you if it's a false start. Useful when you're testing the timing equipment. You want to go ahead and click yes, and you're all good to go. The print option, well, it doesn't really do anything because you don't have any results loaded in yet. But your race data is what it's printing from. So you're going to have access to open up all these, and in that it will actually display all the splits. I just don't have any way of showing that. And then you just be able to put in all your stuff. Like here's the race data from a race we did do. It's manual start, it's a false start. But you can edit times here, your final times, backup times, all of that. So you can do that all through this menu, and that's also what the print menu does. And then it just is, you just print it out. And you click main screen, get back to the main screen. Pretty easy there. So moving on to the next step, we already have a video on diagnostics if you need that. This is, we'll start with general, light and dark. Light mode burns my eyes out, dark mode doesn't. Accent color changes the color of the timer. I mean, I don't know why you want to do that, but I like the bubble that they give you. But that can be up to you. Your beeper volume, that's how loud the actual timer will beep. For me, it doesn't matter. For you, it might, so just play around with that. Interface animations, there's not really an issue with that in my opinion. So this is for if you want to change up where things are happening, timer start input, all that. This is going to be more advanced than personally what I want to handle. So you don't really need to handle this or worry about it for that much at all. I wouldn't touch it if I were you. Sorry, drop sign. I wouldn't touch it very much if I were you. There's nothing really here you need to worry about. Colorado Time will tell you if there's something you need to worry about there. Auto connect, I would leave that on. It's just connecting your arm. Flash case lights during race, I would leave that on for the fact that it allows it to be easily be seen what is going on in a race during a race. Set it back to blue. Scoreboard names disabled. I have this disabled because the scoreboard names at our facility, we use a computer to upload those names in DisplayLink and have a high-tech wire that does it all for us. Governing by the meet, you can change it during the meet. That's why I said it doesn't really matter. Moving on to the timing function of this page, you can declare your primary finish. Easy enough there. You have your pads or whatever. Your default start end and default for far end. You can have that set so it's always on, always off, and just make sure you have that on or off, depending if you actually are using it. Default start end, like even count, odd count, like so especially for this, like if you're doing a 25-yard dash, you want to make sure there's an odd lap count, you have that button flipped. So if you want to have a backstroke start reaction, that's what this one does. It's just enabling a reaction to be placed, and then you can have that for only backstroke events. There's not really an issue with putting it on both events. Allow per lane distance, you have to have your DisplayLink template configured to do that too, which will have a whole separate DisplayLink video coming out relatively soon explaining that all too. Here we have our the time resolution. You can click seconds, tenths, hundreds, or thousands. Most people are going to do hundreds. You can do thousands, but that will not display on your DisplayLink Plus board. Start reaction windows for if you have an RJP. That's how much you can have up to a 2-second reaction. Once it's past that, it's not going to display your reaction. And so that's why you can get around it. Oh no, timer person touch the thing. It won't matter if it sets to. Near pad delay, that's how long is it going to take them to go down and back? I don't know. Probably not that long. Hell, set to 18 seconds. It will not buzz again. That's for if someone's getting out of the water, and that's why we would use the plus or split arm if that did not hit and they went faster than that by some miraculous occasion. Far end, you really aren't going to need that, but if you are doing a meet where you have a touch pad on both 25s, I would suggest lowering that down because it's not going to really matter too much, and I would just lower it down. So relay judging interval, that's for the reaction pads. This is how much the interval it will judge the reaction on. Oh no, it will give a discrepancy of 0.101. If you're even a bit faster, that's just how much it will judge the reaction time by. So if it's over a second, it's not going to judge it. Keep that typically at max because you want to be able to know your reactions. Backup comparison interval. That's when it will flash red during a race, which is all in the Colorado Timing manual for the software that I will have linked down below, as well as a manual explaining the back of the Gen 7 timer, so just thought I would mention that here. But that's the comparison interval, that's when it's red and whatnot on the screen, just gives you an easier idea of what's going on. And if someone's like, oh, they were 3 seconds behind, do we accept the backup time or do we accept the primary time? Ask your timers, or pay attention and ask your officials too. Scoreboard. This is by far the most complex section of the list. So you have your split display, cumulative then subtractive, subtractive, if cumulative then subtractive, subtractive then cumulative. My facility, we have a section on both of our boards, so we don't even have to worry about this, but yours may not, and that's when you might change things up. If you have only one column, we have a splits column too, we're blessed and our board's big enough to do that. Might want to add that. Lane order, or with separate running time, and this is all, again, this is something that if you have a single line display, it's going to be necessary that you figure out what works best. However, in our facility, We don't have any of that, so we don't need to worry about it. We have a giant board with a DisplayLink Plus that makes it really, really easy. Display time, pretty self-explanatory. That's just how much time that's what's going to be displayed for. Lane modules used. Phasing, skip off lanes. Phasing speed, don't really worry about that. Not a huge deal. Display on miss finish, that's up to you. If you want it to be dashes, keep running. I put blank so people still know that we did get it. We just don't know what's going on. What's next? Yes, the 2-lane place and display. Our board, again, this is more for a single line board or a board that doesn't have a whole lot of interval stuff on it. So we don't really need to worry about that. Clear lanes after the race, I would keep that for the times where that's saying like once you hit the next heat and save and finish, it's automatically going to clear them. I would leave that on or off. That way your swimmers can still look at the board until the next heat starts to figure out what their time was and how fast they went. Post places is finals only, finals intermediate. That's up to you what you would like places to be posted on. And record breaker action. That's if you want to blink when records get broken or not. So whatever you want to do there. Links count up or down. That is something you control on this end, and that will only show if your DisplayLink Plus template has that written to show. Name formatting. This isn't really going to matter if you use DisplayLink Plus because DisplayLink Plus gets its names from a different source, so you're not going to need to really worry about this for the most part. And casing, again, not really going to need to worry about that. Single line, I'll let you worry about that if that applies to your pool, but all this stuff does not apply to my pool, so I'm not going to spend too much time with that. Scoreboard intensity, numeric boards only, again, doesn't really apply to mine. Self-test mode, so that's just so the board will go through and test itself to see if it has everything it needs to function properly. And with that, it's just going to be flashing up through a bunch of things to show, hey, I have proof I work. I can do what I need to. If I'm looking at my board right now, it's just filling everything up, showing it can work. Don't really need to worry about that. Blank running time. Never. I always have it so where it'll keep going until it's over. Scoreboard definitions. This is just how your DisplayLink Plus is going to have all this stuff written down. And sometimes it's very useful enough if you're doing DisplayLink Plus, other times it's not, so I won't worry about it too much unless you're in our DisplayLink Plus video and coming back here. In that case, spend some time, look at that, and then get to your DisplayLink Plus building. Printing. Easy section. Select what paper size you're using. Print without preview or print with preview. Default printer, or this is your printers that you have your computer set to, and I'll print on reset. That's on our computer. That means we get print every time the computer is done. Session, another fairly easy one. I'll start on the right side here. So this is where you can change your course once it's been started. And the session, we're going to start on our right side. Sorry, a little cut. I did have to take a quick break. Come back to this. First lane, if you have a 0 or a 1, that will depend on your facility and how it's mapped, but you can see that changes your lanes map. Championship scene, you're not going to need to worry about because we have everything seeded through high tech, and so should you. Lanes in your pool, that is something you can't worry about, and that's how many lanes you're going to be running for your meet. So I hope you're never running a 1-lane meet, but if you are, you can do that. Lane mapping for in-deck and off-deck. It's not really something you need to worry about. In-deck, that means like your wall plates and everything that's in it. You might have to reverse it during long course, is what we found for our facility. You have to crisscross it during long course. Not always what you're going to have to do. Just play around with it, make sure everything looks right, and when you're doing your diagnostic, we'll show in our own diagnostic video. Just make sure you figure that out. Index, same thing, but for if you have your stuff plugged into the timer. Lanes used, you can permanently disable a lane. Say like, I know lane 7's broken, but we're still running our pool with 8, 9, and 10. Well, that lane's going to be permanently off in the software throughout the whole meet now. No one's going to be able to use it. Software won't pick it. Software will pick stuff up, but it's not going to time anything, and it's not going to be displayed on the board. Session is also where you can edit meet settings after it's been started. So if you want to change your meet name and whatnot, and then your session after it's been started, which is actually pretty neat. So we talked about putting in events automatically. This is how you can manually add an event, and which you can also do from the main page, and I'll show that in a second. So you can hit add, so it's going to tell you what your number is. You can change the event number here, put a tag on it, optional, like, I don't really fully know what that does. It doesn't really seem like it's a necessary thing. You can put if it's prelims, semifinals, finals. You can put a swim off, time trial. Oftentimes what I see people doing, they're going to put this as a swim off. You're going to swim off at sectionals or swim off at state. Or not, click this swim off, tell what side they're starting on, tell if it's men's, women's, girls, whatever they're doing. In most of it, put mixed, girls, and you select how far they're going to go. So put that in there, and then you can also manually change that yourself. If it's a custom event, you're doing 150, cool, whatever, if they want to. You can edit and add record tags to your meet too if you would like. Again, that can all be done through display link and high text, which I wouldn't recommend doing it here. You can also do platform and diving if you would like. From here, diving, platform, a lot of fun stuff. So, send it back to 100. And then you collect what stroke you're going to be doing. Medley is your individual medley, 200 IM, 400 IM, all that. You can also switch it to be a relay. And in that case, so now I'm in the event, the 200-yard freestyle relay, they're going to swim off to see who gets to get into the A final. You can then add an age group. So you can have like 10 and over. Or if you want to make an upper limit, 11 through 12, 10 through 12. I mean, you actually do 11 through 12 in an actual meet, and that's how you dignify the events that you're doing. So if you click sort, it's going to sort your events from lowest to highest number, and if you hit clear all, it's going to erase the timer's memory, which I recommend hitting clear all when you're done with the session. So I also delete it from there, and it's gone. Poof. So I'm going to go back quickly and prove that you can also do this from this point. You hit this little button, wait a second for it to load. This is where you can also add an event after the fact. Because if you're doing your meet, this is where I would be adding my swim off in. I'm not going to go to the settings, just add a swim off, 200-yard freestyle swim off. Right there, easy enough. You hit OK, and that's the thing. You can wait for high tech to send you a heat for to put on display link, or you can manually on display link add that in, which we'll show in a later video. You can see, even though our display, we have run one race, by the way, it does say 2, which shows you that your race number does change with your event. So now going to update. This is where you can get update for your firmware for your Gen 7 timer. You can also go into advanced mode, find more updates, or if you have a new configuration file, this is where you upload it to your computer to use. Back to basic mode. So a few more things. This little icon up here is your battery that your Gen 7 or your Gen 7 timer has. This is your date. This is your time. Pretty self-explanatory. Quick options. You can change the board to where it just shows the time of the day, no names or anything. You can switch the events and heats. It doesn't really do much. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. It ends up screwing up my board personally, so I wouldn't mess with it. On screen, you can switch the order that the lanes appear in. You can cycle your meet manager port, load scoreboard names, which, I mean, you can do that from this. I've actually not done this too much, but it doesn't really, not really something you need to work with. That's if you want the source names right here, which, again, might be needed for you if your board is a single column display board. However, ours is not. Ours already has names, and that does it through display link. Back up into quick options. You can clear scoreboard names. Again, doesn't do anything for us because we don't have any names added in, and we aren't really controlling a board here. This number is changing the lanes we see, but not what the board sees. And I guess when you reverse the lane cycle, I guess it depends on what I would typically have it like this, to be honest, because then my farthest lane's down that side, why not? So then you can click this number during a race and it'll turn off the lane, and that person's name and information will disappear from the board and normal time pop up. However, if you realize this was a mistake after the fact, you can turn it on and everything you have from that race will still be there. There's not much more to this software. It's a lot of information. If you need any of the shortcuts, they're right here. I wouldn't really know what you're doing with it, but if you want, you can do it like this. Definitely something that you should not be mean to do, but if you want to disqualify someone, you can put that in through this computer. If you see an official raise their hand, if you're right next to your admin person, you have a headset, you can DQ someone, and that way it will not be shown on the person's computer, the high-tech computer. However, times will still be gotten just in case. You also declare no-shows and a few other things through that, but that will all be seen as something you can do through the folder that you'll be able to read through. The high-tech manual explains this, not high-tech, Gen 7 manual explains this much better than I am, but I just want to give you a more detailed view for Deaconess Aquatic Center specifically. So you press this button, you can also see the release notes. It's a whole bunch of jibbery jabberish. Probably not going to want to know about it. And then, of course, you have a help button, in which it just allows you to see what everything in the general area does. I don't really think it's that useful. And then, of course, you have this button that see the licenses, send feedback, all that. So again, pretty simple. And then our final parts, it tells you what timer you're connected down here, what the different ports on your timer are supposed to do. Don't really need to do those if you have the Gen 7 Legacy timer, and you have wall plates, I believe. And then right here it tells you what pool you're racing in, and the configuration of the deck that you're signed up to be doing. Over here it tells you what course you're in, what your far end's on, and where you're starting and finishing. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please reach out. We will gladly answer them. I can see one last thing I forgot is this the session name and demo right here. That's your tag you put for it, but there's not much to it. It's just a lot of information. If you need anything more specifically explained, check that manual, which will be linked down in the description. And if you need something else, leave a comment. I will gladly answer and explain it. But thank you for watching this part of the Deaconess Aquatic Center explanation. I have been Jack, and I will see you next time. And one more thing, when you go to turn it off, you hit the send power off the timer, and then the timer will turn itself off at the end of the session. Thank you.